Hello Stampers, this is Marie Bennett at blackberriesandcream.net, and today I mostly want to talk to those of you who are interested in doing craft fairs and who have run into some of the same problems I've run into when trying to market my handmade Christmas or greeting cards. The problem I have is that my card is an A2 size, so it's about 5 3/4 by, about 5 3/4 by about 4.5. And finding packaging for those size A2 cards is very, very difficult. And finally, I've given up and decided to just use the packaging that I can find. And the boxes that I've decided to use I purchased from a company called Nashville Wraps, spelled W-R-A-P-S. And I went online and ordered from them, and I got very good service. These were delivered to me in about 4 or 5 days from the time I ordered them. So these boxes are about 5.5 inches wide by 7.5 inches long. And so they are really not the correct size for the project or for these size A2 cards. So what I've done is built some inserts to put along the top and along the side, leaving a space that exactly will hold my size A2 cards. To do this, and you can make 2 sets of inserts from one sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And I'm using Whisper White, which is kind of pricey, so if you have access to a store like Kelly Paper or someplace like that where you can get large quantities of paper at a lower price, I would highly recommend doing that. So to cut these out, when I measured, I discovered that from the size I need here is 5 3/8 inches wide, and this is 5 5/8. So when you add 5 3/8 and 5 5/8, you get 10 8/8. So it's an 11-inch measurement, and that's exactly the size. So when I cut it at 5 3/8, the piece that is left is 5 5/8, exactly the size I need. Alright, and then when I measured, I discovered that the space between the top of the box, the top of the box and the top of my card is 1.5 inches. Oh my gosh. And this box is 1 inch deep, so I need 1 inch on each side of this 1.5 inch strip. So I need a 3.5 inch wide strip of cardstock. So if I cut it at 3.5 inches, I see that I can get 2 of these. And I have a piece of scrap which comes in useful, so don't throw that away. And that takes care of 2 boxes at the top. This strip along the side is 1 inch wide and then 1 inch deep on 2 sides. So I need a 3 inch wide strip of paper for the side. So I can get 2 of those. And I have some scrap which I'll be using. Alright, so now I need to score each of these at 1 inch on both sides, along both long edges. I'm going to move this up here. 1 inch on that side, 1 inch on this side. I'm only going to make one set for you, so, but this will make the inserts for 2 greeting card boxes. And then on this one, the same thing. I need to score at 1 inch on both sides. Okay, now you could be done and just you know, fold along the score lines and stick it in your box. But I thought it looked really I don't know, really cheap when it was just white. So I decided that I would use just a very generic design with smoky slate ink, and then that provides me a place to put my own information for people that might want to contact me for more product after the craft show is over. So I'm using this stamp from the stamp set Chalk Lines, and I'm using smoky slate ink. Ink that up. I need to get a piece of, there we go, my paper piercing mat, because this is a photopolymer stamp, and it really does work better if it has kind of a cushiony surface to stamp against. Okay, so I've inked up my stamp with smoky slate, and now I'm going to just kind of overlap those score lines a little bit so that I get a complete image on the top. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and fold this so I can see where the actual score lines are. And the next thing I want to do is stamp the Stampin' Up! Copyright stamp right here. And I do that first because my photopolymer stamp I can see through. So I will stamp right on top of the copyright stamp. I'm using chocolate chip on top of this smoky slate. I will fix this smear. I won't be able to live with that, but just for the purposes of this video, please just try to ignore it. Alright, my card has, I guess it's Early Espresso is the ink. The card that I'm going to be putting in this box has an Early Espresso card base. So I'm stamping that in Early Espresso just to kind of tie it together. And the great thing about these photopolymer stamps is you just wipe them off, and then when I move on to another color over the top of this smoky slate, I think it'll still be pretty. Alright, so there's one. Now the long side is right here. And the long side is slightly narrower. The surface is slightly narrower than this stamp. So I should be able to just stamp it in one go, if I can see my score line. Just like that. Okay. So then when I fold on the score line, I have that design. It's just a generic design that I think kind of gives the project a finished look without taking away from the look of the cards themselves. Alright, now if you look at this, you see that that really doesn't have any support. So this is where your scrap paper comes in. I'm going to cut a 3.5 inch wide piece of this scrap for this to give support to it. So get out my trimmer. 3.5 inches, which is the same width as that piece of paper. And then I'm going to score it at 1 inch on both ends. And okay, so I have my piece that has been scored at 1 inch on both sides, and I have my so I've stuck the end against the inside seam, then fold this end over and then bring this up until it meets. Then what you have is a center support for your box spacer. And it's going to go in like this. It should fit perfectly. I wish that smear wasn't there. That's really bothering me, but we will fix it some other time, like after I'm done with the video. Alright, so this piece, I'm going to make a spacer exactly the same way, only it's going to be 3 inches. So your spacer needs to be the same length as the width of your spacer. Your little support piece does. So I need to cut a piece that's 3 inches out of my scrap and score it on both ends at 1 inch. Okay, so it is cut and scored at 1 inch on both sides. I'm going to turn this over, give it some snail, line the edge of it up with the score line, and then put some snail on this flap and bring this up to where they meet. Now this won't collapse in the box. It will maintain the space. Okay, so I can take my cards, and every card has an envelope, so there are 6 cards and 6 envelopes in this box. Put the lid on, and there you have it. If this wasn't such a horrible stamping job, this would be done. But I guess I'm going to have to fix it. Well, thank you for watching. I hope this gives you an idea of the kind of things you can do with the limited resources that are out there. If you actually know where I can get an A2 size box, I'd love that information too, so put it in the comments section. Well, thanks for watching. Happy stamping, and I hope this has helped solve a problem for you. Bye.